For the second straight year, Notre Dame has landed, in my opinion, one of the 5 best cornerback tandems in the country. And this is a big one for me, Ryan. This is a big year for a couple reasons. Number one, let's just look at what it did. Meet the need. You needed 2 corners this class, you got 2 corners. I would argue that the decommitment they suffered, it was a mutual thing where basically one kid wasn't kind of doing what he needed to do, and the other kid was, the Notre Dame staff said, okay, cool, maybe you'd be better off somewhere else. He wanted to take some visits, and the staff said, hey, all these things like, look, we love you, you're a good kid, but maybe it's best for you to go somewhere else. That's Justin Rhett. Okay. And so they moved on to some other guys, and Christian Gray immediately became a top guy on their board. They looked at some other guys like Josiah Wagner and Calvin Simpson-Hunt, and then they come around to Micah Bell. Yes. And they landed Micah Bell. And I would argue that Micah Bell was a much better – Justin Rhett's a very good football player. I like Justin Rhett. I just – he's a big zone cover guy type of guy for me, not a man cover guy. And they needed man cover guys. And Micah Bell and Christian Gray are man cover guys. So you met your numbers need, you met your scheme fit need, and then you talk about the talent. Micah Bell I've always liked from the minute they got him. I love that kid's talent. Christian Gray is one of those guys that had to grow on me a little bit. I liked Christian Gray at first, but I didn't love Christian Gray. But the more you study him, the more you watch his film, the more you get confirmation about the speed, the more I was like, okay, I like this kid. I think this kid can really play. And you become a lot happier with the kind of player that he is. And so, he's a guy to me that I look at and say top 100 player. I look at Micah Bell and I say top 100 player. I don't know how they're not top 100 players, to be completely honest with you, Ryan. And, so I think these are 2 guys that hit, and it's a strong 2-man class. So in no way, shape, form, or fashion can I possibly look at and say that this kid is anything other than this. This class is nothing other than a great class. And I'm very pleased, very happy with where this ended up at cornerback. And great scheme fit as well. And, fit well together, boundary field, all that kind of stuff. Yes. I love this group. Love this group.
Well, that was going to be my main point, was that I think that they fit together really well, and they're both so different, which is really – because for me, Brian, like Christian Gray, first and foremost, we talked about it yesterday on the show with him and his mom, battle-tested, to say the least, right? Like he's faced against – Ryan Wingo one week, and then next week he's facing off against Carnell Tate, and then he's facing off against guys like Aaron Scott, and then he's facing off guys like Jeremiah McClellan and Jeremiah Love. So, yeah, he's a battle-tested 6-foot-plus corner with length, athleticism. There's really nothing not to like about what Christian Gray brings to the table, and he fits kind of stylistically for me into what you've been successful with over the last couple of years, with the Cam Harts of the world, with the Benjamin Morrisons of the world. Kind of those longer, twitchy corners is kind of what you've had a lot of success with. But I think the key that really brings this class to a borderline elite level is that then you go out and get a Micah Bell who is completely different than what you have right now. It's completely different. He is not as long as those guys. He's right around 5'10" and some change, and 160-something, 170 pounds. But what he has is he has elite level athleticism. You want to talk about a guy that could potentially play outside and then on the next snap come inside and play man-to-man in the slot against a smaller body type? That's Micah Bell. Like me and Brian, I know we were texting back and forth when you were doing comps for him, and Jair Alexander was the guy that popped in my head immediately because I'm like, that kid can match quickness for quickness inside and out. So I love Micah Bell. He's going to run, whenever he makes the attempt at the NFL, he's going to run probably 4.3 low, probably 4.32, 4.33, somewhere in that ballpark. He's incredibly fast, and he is a completely different football player than Christian Gray, which when you kind of put those guys together, it's going to be a really imposing tandem on top of what you're doing recently with guys like Benjamin Morrison, Jaden Mickey, continuing developing the past couple classes.
Let's talk about the cornerback recruiting as well, because this is where I think it was so important to get this good 2-man class, because I think Christian Gray is a guy that can help you early in a lot of ways. I think Micah Bell needs more technical work, but he's so fast that you could find a role for him early. Obviously, the 2 freshmen last year played early. I still really like the 2021 corner class. I do. I still think Ryan Barnes has a chance to play at Notre Dame. And talking to sources after the season, it's not the talent that's the issue for him, right? They like his talent. It's just other guys are a little bit further along. That's kind of where it is. I still talk to sources at Notre Dame. They love Chance Tucker. They think he's got a chance to play at Notre Dame. The problem is you had Cam Hart, you had Tariq Bracy, you had Benjamin Morrison, you had Jaden Mickey, and you had Clarence Lewis. For me, getting this two-man group that I think can help you in 2023, if you can hang on to and I'm not telling you that these guys are going to leave. I'm just saying, it's the world we live in, right? They're not playing a lot, and they're 2 years in. If you can hang on to Chance Tucker and Ryan Barnes, I love them as depth players that could, if a guy goes down, hey, look, if somebody gets hurt and you got to throw Ryan Barnes or Chance Tucker in the starting lineup, I can live with that because I think these kids are good football players. Having them on the roster and hopefully keeping them here to battle for jobs and be a part of the depth, to me, puts Notre Dame in a position where I would have serious conversations this offseason about moving Clarence Lewis to safety. Serious conversations about that. Because with Peyton Bowen in the class, you kind of looked at him as that third guy to compete with Xavier Watts, Ramon Henderson. Yeah. I can't believe I was drawing a blank on that. No, you're good. Because you saw me, I was like, I was like stroking out over here. I was not good. But to me, you throw Clarence there, his game projects much better there to me than it does a corner. All of a sudden, his athleticism, which is okay for a corner, but not great, projects a lot better as a back-end player, in my opinion. And I'll give you a chance to rebut this, Ryan, if you'd like. And please do if you don't agree with me. But I think because I like Chance Tucker, and people write him off because, he's been passed up by – that's fine. Write off Ryan Barnes, that's fine. But Notre Dame still likes him. I still like him. And if those guys can stay and be part of – because you have to be prepared if Chase, Christian Gray, and Micah Bell can't play right away, you need depth there. And I think those two kids, if they can stay and keep working and developing their game, can be those players and step into the lineup if the need is called for. Then all of a sudden you say, hey, Clarence, you're going to play similar snaps, but we think you can help us here. Right. Sort of a nickel safety type of guy. That's what I would do. I would rather do that than go to the portal for some guy that, maybe pans out. And what are his motivations for being here? Is it just to get the NFL? Does he really want to be here? Is a portal safety really going to, like, for example, is Jonathan McGill really going to bring you a lot more than what you could get out of Clarence Lewis at safety? I like Jonathan McGill. He's a nice player. But is he really going to give you more than what you could get from Clarence Lewis?
No, I don't think so.
I don't either. So that's something I would do. And it's because you've now hit that third straight year of good corner classes that allows you to do it. And it's because these two kids, Christian Gray and Micah Bell, can play early that I believe helps them have the flexibility to make that decision. And I think they should. And if Clarence Lewis is smart, that sounded disrespectful. If Clarence Lewis really looked at what's best for his future and potentially playing past college, it's not corner. It's as a safety. Make that move now, because technically, he's a redshirt freshman this year.
That's wild, man. That's wild.
Redshirt freshman this year, right?
Yeah.
So he still has. So really 20. Well, no, hold on. He's a sophomore this year. Excuse me, he's a sophomore this year.
Yeah.
And so even though he's a junior in college, because in 2020 he played, but that year doesn't count. So 2021 was technically his freshman year, and this year was his sophomore year. So he still has 2 full seasons of eligibility remaining.
Yep.
As opposed to just 1, which he normally would have. So I'd take advantage of that. Go play safety, be part of a really strong 3-man group, and look at yourself and say, that is where you have a chance to play on the next level, in my opinion. Now, Ryan, that last part, I definitely don't know if you said you agreed with the move to safety. Do you believe he's a kid that could maybe find a home as in the NFL, late round draft pick, free agent type of guy as a safety? I don't think he has any future at corner in the NFL, but at safety, I think he could find a home. I do.
Yeah. I think there's way too many limitations at corner. I mean, we've seen it in this. Like, he would be a zone-only corner at the next level, right? Like, that would be the only system, like a cover 2 heavy system where he's able to come downhill a ton. And there's just not a ton of teams that run that anymore, Like, it's not. More teams are now 4, match 4, like that type of systems where they're man teams, right? So it's not as prevalent as it once was. So it's difficult, right? And he's also a guy that has been passed up a little bit for snaps, right? So that's not going to be a great thing from NFL evaluators. But if he is a guy that can play safety, play a little in the nickel, you're making yourself more valuable, man, at the next level with the passing attack at what it is in today's game. The more you can do on the back end, the more versatility you can bring, the more valuable you become easily. Because the other thing is, that Clarence Lewis is going to play special teams. Like, there's no doubt about that, right? Yeah. Like, he's a tough kid. Like, he'll play special teams and he'll play it well. And then if he has some versatility on the back end, he could always stick, man. I mean, Matthias Farley, who was a good player at Notre Dame, a pretty good player, he stuck for how many years in the NFL and was a starter? Like, all right. And I mean, he found a home. He found a spot that made sense for him. He found a role that he could fill, and he filled it for a long time. So I think it's just about being versatile at the next level defensively. That could be a sticking point for you because he's going to ace the interviews. Clarence is a great kid, right? You know that he's going to play special teams. So if you have some versatility and coverage for what you can do, then I think that you make yourself even more valuable in that way.
Yes, agree. But that's not we're not having that conversation if Mike Mickens hasn't hit cornerback recruiting out of the park in the last 3 cycles, in my opinion. And I include the last 3 cycles because, again, you beat Jimmy Lake for Chance Tucker. Yep. Chance Tucker's a good football player. I just think Ben Morrison's an exceptional football player. Mm-hmm. Cam Hart's an exceptional talent at cornerback. That's the reason Chance isn't playing. It's like, I think sometimes people think that because a kid doesn't play, or even worse, if a kid gets beat by a younger player, it means he's not good. That's the thing. Chance Tucker's a good football player. Ryan Barnes is a good football player. There's just even better football players ahead of him right now. And so that's why I think those kids still have a future at Notre Dame, in my opinion. I think they're good football players. Just need to see them get that chance. And you've got great depth at corner right now. You don't have great depth at safety. Use the depth there to go there. And it's because of the strong corner recruiting that you can do that, Ryan, in my opinion.